Hey everyone, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. Happy Easter. It is Easter Sunday. It is April 4th, and this is the weekly astrology. We're going to be looking at the last lunar quarter, the fourth lunar quarter of this cycle that started with the new moon in Pisces. And, it's really important to realize, I think, that this week really does matter. And the next new moon, which is the 11th, so we're going to talk about from today, the 4th, which is a third quarter square of the sun and moon, up to the 11th, which is the first new moon of the season, right? Post equinox. So spring in the northern hemisphere, autumn in the southern hemisphere. This new moon, by the time we get to this new moon, it's going to be really essential that we understand what we are going to, what we are bringing forward into this new cycle of rebirth, and really harnessing, there's a lot of Aries energy, as you will see and as we will talk about, and I really, don't want to make this too drawn out, because we will be, checking in daily with the intuitive transmissions, but this week is really important, and we've been working on understanding what our role is as this new cycle unfolds, and it will be already held within us by the time this new moon comes. And so we want to be very sure that we are holding exactly what we want to create as this next new moon cycle rolls around. And we'll talk more about it, about how the whole next cycle is likely to unfold when it gets closer. But this week is really, it matters. It really does matter. And Eris is very much involved in a lot of this week. The dwarf planet Eris, represented by the goddess of discord. She was very involved. She met Black Moon Lilith on Friday. She's going to be in a conjunction with this new moon. So just there's a crescendo building here, and there's this anticipation. And now that Mercury is in Aries, this impulse to be and this strong focus on the subjective experience and the fierceness and the warrior within, and expressed out, right? The Venus and the Sun aspects. Now it's coming through our mouths, right? It's going to come through our expression and communication. It'll come through the movement of information and data, and the manifestation that Mercury really does represent is really going to start looking to be expressed and to be actualized much more now. So by the time this new moon rolls around, like I said, it's going to be important that we know, and we already are aware of and are prepared to hold what we want to create, and make sure that we are completely aware and intentional and conscious of it. So today, as the 4th, is the third quarter square, and what seems to stick out the most to me is not only do we have all of this stellium now in Aries, right? So this is very much about the subjective experience, the I am that I am. And now it's becoming much more in our minds and our communication, and this really strong urge to actualize it. Despite that, this third quarter square with the sun and the moon's transit through Aquarius and Pisces and then into Aries, with at the end of the cycle into the next new moon, it's pulling our emotional and our feeling based selves. It's pulling us to remember and to feel that it isn't just about us, and that it is about the collective to a certain extent. Now, the moon is a transient experience. It doesn't stay as long in these degrees, not as long as the sun and Venus and Chiron especially, and even Mercury. They are spending more time because they have a different cycle. The moon is passing through all of these, reminding us of all of these emotional states. And by the time the moon gets to Neptune in Pisces, it's going to be very dark, and it's going to be very difficult to know where we are oriented, and we will be very much identifying with where Neptune is at the end of Pisces. This mandate coming down from the mountain and applying it to everyday life is going to be the real challenge, because at the same time, that's all going to be squaring Mars. So I'll talk about that too. But in the meantime, this square in particular with the sun and the moon today on Easter, again, the moon is pulling us back into the awareness that it's not just about us, and we do have to be mindful of that which comes after us and making sure that they are taken care of as well. And when the moon meets Pluto tomorrow on the 5th, be prepared as per usual with the moon meeting Pluto, suppressed emotions, things coming up out of the subconscious that we didn't know were there, maybe being really overwhelming and uncomfortable. And so, especially because this square, with this cardinal square, there is a lot of momentum behind it. And so with Pluto in Capricorn, there's a lot of destructive momentum and cardinal energy there too. So it will be important that we are allowing our feelings to stay connected to the collective as the moon moves through Aquarius and Pisces, and is really finishing up the cycle, each of us intuitively preparing for the moon coming into Aries and then meeting the sun, and really activating finally this new season within each of us individually as a working with the duality within us, the sun and the moon. So we can either, the crisis in our consciousness that is represented by this aspect today on Easter is we expressing ourselves through this ability to clothe ourselves in our own fulfillment. There's a moment of self-realization that comes with being able to wrap ourselves in our own desire and create a potency to be ourselves through that. Cardinal Aries energy is the spark of life and the seed of life. It holds all of the potential for growth of life. And so we're working with that too within us, and it's important and it's strong. We have the stellium, but the moon, like I said, in a square in the cardinal earth of Capricorn, is reminding us that it also, what we contribute makes just as much of a big deal to the collective. So the other main aspect today that I want to bring up as the beginning of this last lunar quarter is that Jupiter in Aquarius is in a sextile with Juno, which you don't see here, but Juno, she is in Sagittarius. And so the degree that she's at is in conjunction with the total solar eclipse that happened in December. That energy is still reverberating and will continue to do so until probably the next eclipse cycle, which is May and June. And if you remember, not only was it a degree in Sagittarius that represented the reward to those who stay true to themselves, right? The homecoming that it represents and the good fortune. It also is that star. The eclipse itself was in a conjunction to a specific star, a fixed star that's in the head of Ophiuchus, the snake charmer. So also the unfolding of that energy of healing and the serpent medicine, and also the wrangling of that as well, right? The control of it in order to use the potency rather than having it use or impact us. That's really, serpent medicine is so powerful, which is why not many people are able to really, the Draco starseeds are the people that you want to talk to about this, or embody yourself if you have these markings, in terms of the serpent, just because it's such potent medicine that it takes real mastery not to get pulled into the reptilian aspects. So the snake charmer, the snake handler, is what we've been working with this whole time with this lunar eclipse, a solar eclipse that started. So this is where Juno is, right? This is the wife of Zeus, or Jupiter. She represents contractual agreements and marriage and loyalty and commitment, right? We committed to this point, and the sextile to Jupiter, her husband, archetypally, which is in Aquarius, which was actually the last new moon cycle, which is overcoming our passions to teach from a place of very deep wisdom. This sextile between them, he's making the investment. He's just like, here, I'm expanding on this idea here, or this ability to keep our heads level, and despite the incredible amount of experiences, and this invested into our commitment that Juno represents to staying true to ourselves and maintaining that that position in order to reap the rewards of that, because that's Sagittarius is about the collective values, the belief systems, the truth, the bigger picture. And this degree really represents that if we stay focused on that there is fortune to be had as a result, on some level. So these two are in a sextile today. They're also completely connected to Eris too. So again, the chaos that ensues is part of the process here of learning to overcome those passions, right? It is an opportunity to be molded spiritually by the event of the chaos, right? And give us an opportunity to keep our heads level and to really see the potential and the opportunity in the chaos, rather than to get pulled into the chaos. Because if we can keep our commitment to what that solar eclipse really represented, there is a lot of fortune to be had. There is somewhere that we are going somewhere that is very, very much like returning home, but we have to maintain our commitment to it regardless of how uncomfortable it is. And Zeus made things very uncomfortable, for as much as he's benefic and expansive and good luck. I mean, he also was, willing to throw a thunderbolt at anybody who pissed him off. So, you have to keep in mind that there were plenty of, it's not all sunshine and rainbows with Jupiter. There's plenty of opportunities where there's a challenge as well. So that's just Easter, right? Today, getting us prepared basically as this cycle finishes up and we move into really the beginning of the season, as we are each individually holding the seed point of and being fulfilled by what we're creating within us. But we have to be mindful that the whole reason that we're creating anything within us is for a collective purpose in the end. And today's third quarter square reminds us of that, and we can hold that with us as all of this Aries energy starts to really dominate. And not only that, Mars is in Gemini, Mercury is in Aries. They're having this mutual reception thing. So it's going to be very fiery and very impulsive and very forceful in terms of a lot of things. And Venus, of course, she's really pulling herself in right now and drawing on some inner potency and, learning to live rhythmically and not necessarily going all out all the time. Because in Aries, you are learning that your real potency is to learn to live rhythmically. The dynamic of duality is within the seed, and you have to learn how to create within yourself in order to create outside of yourself. And again, this kind of goes back to what the third quarter square was. Reminding us that it is about what we're contributing to the whole and what impact it's going to have on future generations. It's not just all about us, even though that's really hard to see because there's all this Aries. So as we move through, the moon is going to obviously meet Pluto like it does every month. And so Monday, the 5th, tomorrow, be prepared, I would say, for, things to pop up emotionally that are usually under the surface, things that are repressed emotions, things that are buried in the subconscious. It could be very overwhelming as well. And just, it'll activate it, it'll come up, and we'll, see it, and we'll deal with it however we deal with it. And then the moon slips into Aquarius and immediately has a sextile to Mercury. And so this will allow us to detach just a little bit in order to identify ourselves and our minds and our thoughts with a greater whole. This is a good moment to then remind ourselves of the bigger picture of why this is all happening. So, and as we go through the week, as the 6th, Tuesday the 6th, the moon is moving through Aquarius, meeting Saturn, will be in a square to Uranus, making really challenging us, because Uranus in Taurus is really just shaking up material reality. Now, this is kind of a mutual reception because the moon loves to be in Taurus, is in its exaltation in Taurus, and Uranus is at home in Aquarius. So they're familiar with each other's territory, but they also are fixed energies at a square. And Uranus is like, all people are people, and that's the end of it. And this is about true altruism, linking everybody because they're human, and that's it. And you provide care, and you provide resources because people are human, and that's it. And Uranus is going to keep giving us opportunities to wake up to this fact. And even though the moon will be in Aquarius, which you think would actually be the humanitarian aspect, it is, but Aquarians love humanity but hate humans, whereas Taurus is like, I love humans because humans are the same as me and nature and Earth. And so you can see that there'll be a little bit of attachment here, but Uranus won't, we'll be challenging that too with a square. What else is going on here on the 6th? Because it won't just be that. It'll meet Jupiter, the moon will meet Jupiter. And Venus will sextile Mars. That's the big one. Venus in Aries, sextile Mars in Gemini. And this is an investment opportunity with this sextile. And Venus is really wanting to bring forward that compassion within her. She wants to take care of those who can't take care of themselves at this point. She has it all within her. And Mars is gonna show her through. It's gonna show that part of ourselves. You have Venus and you have Mars. You have the masculine and the feminine coming together and activating each other through this sextile. Mars showing that part of ourselves that there are so many options. There's so many ways that we can apply to apply our inner compassion to want to help people. There's so many different ways. There's an abundance of ways that we can choose from. It doesn't have to be through one specific channel. The important thing is that Venus is feeling within we are embodying within this really strong desire to help and be compassionate. And the sextile to Mars is going to be like, here, let me show you all of these options that you can do that. This is really going to help, again, give us a sense that we don't have to follow things in a specific way. We can utilize our curiosity and discover multiple ways that we can express this part of ourselves that is very compassionate and really does want to help other people. And the moon is then going to in Aquarius is going to make connections to both of these points, the trine to Mars and then also a sextile to Venus. And this is really about cultivating some resiliency, some inner resiliency emotionally in order to do this, right? You're not really going to take it as personally at this point, and you're kind of a little bit detached emotionally, so you can see what the options are and apply those options in whatever way works for you in your situation and in order to be compassionate and help people. the next real big thing, so this is Tuesday, and as the moon moves through Aquarius, it moves, meets Jupiter, it's going to go into Pisces, and this is where it's going to get spicy. So the 9th is going to be where things are starting to get very interesting by next Friday. So the moon will have met Neptune, and at the very same time will square Mars and Gemini. So this is going to be a real challenge, because a dark moon in Pisces meeting Neptune in Pisces is, we're not going to know where we're sitting. We're going to be bobbing in the ocean, not knowing which way we're facing or what's going on. And, it could be too that we are so absolutely, dissolved into the peak experience that we really have a hard time. We're going to have a really difficult time reconstituting it into everyday life, right? We will have the peak experience, right? The moment on the mountain where we get the download, we get the tablets, right? Like Moses. And we come down from the mountain, but we're going to have a really hard time expressing it, because we're going to try to express it through Mars and Gemini. That's just like, okay, I'm going to force these ideas to interact with each other. And you can't force those kinds of things. And so we're just going to have to let go at this point. There's going to be gossip, deceit, lies, slander with a transit like this. People are going to be upset, and will be forceful in their expression and the way that they share what they know or they think they know. And then, because that's square again, everything melts, everything dissolves, everything goes back to the transcendent spiritual plan, the divine plan, the collective unconscious. So this is going to be a really, really difficult transit. But at the same time, Mercury is going to meet Chiron in Aries, and this is going to be another downloadable moment where we could see our wounding and all of the shadow work maybe that goes along with that Chiron wound. We could see that through new symbols. We could upgrade our symbolic representation of these experiences of self and see them in a different way and learn from them. There's a lot of potential here to learn, but there's also a lot of potential on the 9th to really just fall into the trap of feeling like a victim, forcing the communication, you can't force an organic holistic process. You can't force it, and Mars wants to force it. Mars can be more of a warrior, but in the square here to Neptune and the moon at the same time, it's almost no match for it. And there's a certain amount of just letting go and seeing things for what they are instead of trying to force anything. And Saturn will be in a trine to the North Node exactly on this day, on the 9th as well. And so we have a real potential here to, Saturn's giving us all the materials that we need to be able to predict the upcoming spiritual weather, collective weather, however you want to look at it. 12 to 13 degrees Aquarius is a barometer. And it's really when we measure the change in pressure, we can make predictions about how the weather's going to be. And in a trine to the North Node, this is all part of that grand air trine and the kites that were part of the full moon when the moon was in Libra. Now it's in Pisces. So this trine, though, now is exact. And, there's a strong urge here for us to really show our skills, whatever those skills are. We want to be the best version of ourselves that we can be. And the North Node is the direction that we need to learn from this. We need to learn in order to move to the next level. We need to learn how to be the best version of ourselves and the execution of our skills. Saturn, once you learn the structure of music, for instance, right? You learn all your scales, backwards and forwards, all of them, your major scales, minor scales, all of the different types of scales. and you learn them all so that you can actually forget them, right? I think Charlie Parker said that. And then when that happens, you are able to actually not think about what you're doing necessarily, but still exercising that mastery of your individual skill, and then become a source of inspiration as a result of that. Saturn is giving us the material, the actual material, the ability to measure the shifts in pressure in the environment so that we can more accurately predict what's going to happen. And this Saturn is going to give us the ability to learn everything and then forget about it, because we have now the hardware, right? The barometer is giving us the readings that we need. So this trine, we can really, what have we learned about Saturn being in Aquarius, right? What have we learned? What have we learned about how a collective is the healthiest in when everybody is an individual soul at their most sovereign, creative, and expressive. And when everybody's doing that, that is the essence of a collective. And Saturn, for as much as it has to do with Capricorn, also is very strong in its rulership of Aquarius. And so cosmic law and coherence to it is just as real as the material world. And I think that we're about to get an upgrade in our ability to actually measure what's coming so that we can more masterfully be who we are. And the North Node, we are growing and evolving as a result of that direction. And this is why understanding our Dharma is so important. And it's been important since this whole time. But I assure you that chaos is on the menu, and the full moon that we had was a direct link to being able to anchor into something that inspires you, right? Just like you can inspire others by being the best version of yourself, there were others that inspired you to do the same, and those are going to be the ones that you go back to in times of confusion, which are coming. Absolutely, there's so much confusion with this the moon and Neptune meeting and then squaring Mars. There is just so much bad there's just confusion, like I said, lies and slander and shit talking all day long. And we're really going to have to, allow all of the chatter to keep dissipating. And as more and more stuff is moving through Aries, and look, Venus on the same day in a conjunction with Eris, oh my Lord. If only Venus is able to see what if only Venus is able to see what Eris is up to when she rolls that apple in. Oh, if only. Wow. Venus can really be infused with an abundance of potency in that moment, but only if she's not getting lost in what Eris is providing in terms of chaos. So, we have a big week coming, guys. Very big week, very chaotic, but the chaos is an invitation, and it's an infusion of abundance if we see it that way. It depends if we see it that way or not. And oh yeah, there's a lot of Aries energy now, and there is a lot of impulse to be an individual and to focus on the subjective experience, and that's just what it is. That's where we are right now, and it's important that we embrace that and figure out how to work with that, while at the same time not forgetting that we are part of a collective, and that's the whole point of fulfilling that subjective experience is the opposite of Aries, which is Libra, which is the application of everything we've learned about our own individuation process into a collective relationship, because that's the whole point. is to be in relationship, and a relationship of any kind represents the duality and the dualistic nature that creates something new in our universe. And so that's why the real soul work comes in our relationships to each other, a relationship to a collective, to an idea, however you want to look at it. But we always work with the polar opposite point when we are working with any kind of archetype. And Aries, for as much as it is having us be very focused on our own I, me, mine right now in so many ways, the whole point of that is to eventually be part of a shared experience. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. When you hit the like button, it influences our AI overlords and influences their algorithm. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much. It's so appreciated to have you here and to be part of this process. If you're interested in a reading, you want to know how these transits are going to affect your astrological, or you through your astrological chart, you can book through catalystenergies.net. That is in the description box below. You can find us on Telegram and Facebook as well. And yeah, if you're on BitChute or YouTube, like I said, hit that subscribe button. It really does help independent content creators like myself to stay, at least keep our heads above water in a sea of information that is available to everybody right now. So thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your evening whenever you find yourself watching this. Happy Easter again, and I will see you on the daily on Monday morning, and we will take this one day at a time. All right, guys, take care. Bye.